Ian Rappaport put this tweet out about an hour ago. Browns owner Jimmy Haslam also weighed in on his team's quarterback, saying 3 games for Dylan Gabriel is not a great sample size and that the team wants to see more. He also said that Shedeur is making progress in practice, so we're going to continue to work with both of those guys. Thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't really have a ton because it kind of makes sense. It's him saying exactly what he should say. Shedeur's progressing as a backup. 3 games is not nearly enough time to...
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. I'll be honest. The second I heard Jimmy Haslam praise progress in practice, while Dylan Gabriel was out there getting his ribs tenderized on Sundays, something in me snapped. You don't praise practice when your quarterback is taking real hits behind a busted line. You don't talk about cones and air routes when the starter is eating live bullets. That one line felt like the whole building in Berea saying the quiet part out loud. We're grading the backup on vibes and the starter on scars, and that's why it hurts. Not because Shedeur Sanders getting better is a bad thing. It's great. But because the way it was said, and when it was said, turned into a spotlight on everything that's broken in Cleveland. Loyalty got tested, and for a lot of us, it failed. I'm a fan, not a suit. I watch the same tape you do. I see Dylan trying to make something out of nothing, quick game after quick game because there's no time to set a pocket. I see receivers rounding routes. I see protection sliding late. I see a run game that doesn't exist until the 4th quarter, and then we're shocked that a rookie looks like a rookie. Meanwhile, the owner floats a sentence that sounds harmless in a press gaggle and detonates in the locker room like a grenade. 3 games isn't enough to evaluate Dylan, but Shedeur is making progress in practice. Read it again. That's not balance. That's a scale with a thumb on it. You want to know why players whisper betrayal? Because message matters. In that room, every syllable counts. If you're Dylan, you hear, your work under fire is still a question. His work without contact is a promise. If you're a veteran in that huddle, you hear, the scoreboard doesn't matter as much as the storyline. And if you're Shedeur, you catch a different kind of heat. The kind that turns a developmental runway into a launch countdown, whether the tower's even built or not. That's not fair to him either. Pressure like this doesn't just test quarterbacks. It tests cultures. It tests belief. And here's the part that eats at me. It didn't have to be said that way. There was a safe, boring sentence that keeps the room together. We believe in Dylan. We believe in Shedeur. We're committed to building the right environment. Instead, we got a public comparison that lives forever. A little wedge between 2 young quarterbacks who should be allies, not avatars for a front office argument. That's how trust evaporates. That's how doubt walks right through the front door and sits in the quarterback room chair. Because this isn't just about practice talk. It's about a wound that never healed in this city. We've seen quarterbacks rushed. We've seen systems ask guys to be superheroes with no cape. And we've watched the blame roll downhill every single time. So when Haslam brings up practice progress, it feels like the same old movie in a new jersey. The starter carries the bruises, the backup carries the promise, and the franchise carries the confusion. I want Shedeur to be ready. I want Dylan to get a fair shot. I want the Browns to pick a lane, build a plan, and protect it with the same energy they protect their PR. But right now, it feels like the plan is noise. And noise doesn't block a blitz. Noise doesn't convert 3rd and 8. Noise doesn't hold a locker room together when the storm hits. So yeah, this isn't just about one quote. It's about what that quote revealed. And if you think this is only a 1-week headline, you haven't been in Cleveland long enough. Because the next question isn't just who starts. It's why this team keeps ending up here at all. And what history says happens next. It always starts the same way in Cleveland. A new name, a new promise, a new savior under center. And somehow it always ends the same. Broken system, broken protection, broken faith. You'd think after 2 decades of quarterback heartbreak, we'd learn. But here we are again. Same movie, new cast. Dylan Gabriel walks into the storm. Shedeur Sanders waits in the wings, and the Browns' quarterback carousel keeps spinning like it's cursed. Think about it. Baker Mayfield was supposed to be the guy, the swagger, the arm, the edge. He had all of it. 2018 felt like the start of something real. One playoff win later, and the city believed. Then came the regression, the excuses, and the inevitable finger-pointing. The system failed him long before the fans did. Then Deshaun Watson arrived, a blockbuster trade, a record-breaking contract, and a moral firestorm that still hasn't cooled off. The Browns sold their soul for a star, and they're still paying the price in cash, cap space, and credibility. And now, Dylan Gabriel, a third-rounder who was never supposed to start this early, is being thrown into the same meat grinder that chewed up every QB before him. History isn't repeating, it's on a loop. You can almost map it out. Owner gets impatient, front office overcorrects, head coach panics, and another quarterback pays for it. GM Andrew Berry makes his quiet, smart moves on paper, balancing cap and draft picks like chess pieces. Jimmy Haslam jumps in for damage control, talking to the press like a politician instead of a football man. And Kevin Stefanski? He's coaching like every drive might decide his job. That combination, fear from the sidelines, pressure from upstairs, and chaos in the locker room, is how potential turns into tragedy every single time. And now enters Shedeur Sanders, the golden name, the spotlight magnet, the headline generator. His presence alone rewired the atmosphere in Cleveland. Suddenly, fans aren't just talking about rookie development. They're talking about legacy, about Coach Prime's son, about charisma, culture, and media attention the Browns haven't seen since Baker's prime. And that's the problem. The hype machine doesn't stop to ask if the foundation can hold the weight. It just accelerates, faster and louder, until someone crashes. What people don't realize is the fans aren't mad at Shedeur. Not even close. They're scared for him. They've seen this story before. They've seen what happens when Cleveland hands a young quarterback the keys to a car with no brakes and says, drive. They've seen leadership talk about patience in public, then panic in private. And they've watched good players, good men crumble under the noise, the leaks, and the politics that always seem to swallow this franchise whole. It's not about one bad season or one QB competition. It's about a culture that never learned to build before it breaks. Shedeur might have the tools, the bloodline, the poise, but this system, this machine, it doesn't care. It just eats quarterbacks alive. And unless something changes, fast, this curse isn't lifting anytime soon. Because if you've been a Browns fan long enough, you know the truth. It's never just about talent. It's about survival. And the question hanging over Cleveland right now is simple. Can anyone actually survive this system? And that's where the story shifts. From the organization's history to the man caught in its crossfire, Dylan Gabriel. You can't talk about the mess in Cleveland without talking about Dylan Gabriel, because right now he's the one taking every hit, physically, mentally, and publicly, for problems he didn't create. This kid was never supposed to start this early. He was drafted to develop, to sit behind veterans, to learn the speed of the league before being thrown into it. But in true Browns fashion, patience wasn't part of the plan. The front office traded away Joe Flacco, the only veteran presence in that quarterback room, and then acted surprised when the rookie they rushed into the fire started getting burned. I mean, let's be real. How was this ever supposed to work? A third-round rookie behind a patchwork offensive line that couldn't hold a pocket for 3 seconds. A receiving core that drops more balls than they catch headlines. A playbook that feels like it was written in 2019 and never updated. And yet somehow, when the offense sputters, when the losses pile up, it's Dylan who becomes the headline. It's Dylan who becomes the problem. But look at what happened the moment Joe Flacco left for Cincinnati. Suddenly, the same guy who looked washed in Cleveland looks like 2012 Joe again. Same arm, same brain, just a competent system around him. So ask yourself, did Flacco magically get younger in 2 weeks? Or is the problem deeper than the players wearing the jerseys? Because that's what it feels like. Another quarterback being sacrificed on the altar of bad planning and worse leadership. Dylan Gabriel isn't perfect. Nobody's saying that. But you can't teach toughness like this kid's showing. He's been hit more times in 3 games than some quarterbacks are all season. He's taken criticism from his own fan base, from analysts, even from ownership. And he still walks into every huddle trying to prove he belongs. He doesn't throw teammates under the bus. He doesn't deflect. He just keeps showing up. And if you've ever played football at any level, you know how rare that is. What frustrates me most is how predictable it's all become. We've seen this before. Baker Mayfield got chewed up and spit out by this same system. Deshaun Watson walked into it and looked like a shell of himself. And now Dylan, a 23-year-old rookie, is being asked to fix problems that go way beyond his reach. It's not just unfair, it's negligent. The front office stripped away every safety net he should have had, then pointed the camera at him when the offense collapsed. So is Dylan really the problem? Or just the next name on a list of quarterbacks Cleveland never protected? Because when I watch him, bruised, battered, still fighting, I don't see a bust. I see a kid trying to hold a broken team together with duct tape and willpower. And that's why fans are starting to see through the noise. They know what this is. They've seen it too many times. This isn't a Dylan Gabriel issue. This is a Browns issue, an organizational issue. And if the team doesn't wake up soon, they're going to break another young quarterback before he ever gets a chance to become what he could be. And that's where Shedeur Sanders enters this story. The new hope, the golden name, and maybe the next in line to face the same storm. Here's the thing about Shedeur Sanders. He's not just a name on a depth chart. He's a storyline, a legacy, a spotlight that never turns off. When Jimmy Haslam dropped that little line about Shedeur, making progress in practice, he didn't just compliment a young quarterback. He lit a fuse. Because Shedeur doesn't enter quietly. He enters with cameras, conversations, and comparisons that follow him everywhere. He's Deion Sanders' son, Coach Prime's kid, and that alone turns Cleveland into a headline every single day. But here's where it gets tricky. That name, that bloodline, that fame, it's both armor and weight. Shedeur grew up in the game. He's been around NFL sidelines since before most rookies could read a playbook. His footwork, his timing, his mental toughness, you can see the polish. That's not hype. That's reality. This kid knows how to carry himself. He's got that calm poise you only get from pressure that never let up. But the question isn't if Shedeur can handle the NFL spotlight. The question is, can the Browns handle him? Because let's be honest, this franchise has never been built to manage hype. They crumble under it. They've gone from one next big thing to the next like clockwork. Every few years, a new quarterback, a new savior, a new slogan to distract from the same cracks in the foundation. And now, they've got a Sanders, a player whose very name brings media trucks, debate segments, and endless scrutiny. Is Cleveland ready for that storm? Is Kevin Stefanski, a man who barely tolerates post-game questions, ready for that kind of global microscope? Because when Shedeur walks into the room, the noise follows. And yet, you can't help but root for the kid, the maturity, the confidence, the work ethic. It's all there. Watch his college tape and you'll see it. Pocket presence, timing, command. This isn't a celebrity son playing pretend. Shedeur is the real deal. He's had to earn every ounce of respect through his play, not his name. But NFL reality is cruel. You can have all the talent in the world, and it won't matter if the system around you is chaos. And right now, Cleveland is chaos. The offensive line's been a turnstile. The play calling's predictable. The front office is split. And the locker room? It's tired of being the punchline. That's the fear every Browns fan feels deep down. Not that Shedeur won't live up to the hype, but that Cleveland won't live up to him. Because this city has a pattern of breaking the very players it needs the most. Baker, Deshaun, now Dylan. And if the Browns rush Shedeur into that same system, that same pressure cooker, before it's ready, they won't just ruin another season, they'll ruin 2 careers, Dylan Gabriel's and Shedeur Sanders. So yeah, Haslam's comment might have been meant to inspire confidence, but it did more than that. It started the countdown. Because when the owner starts publicly praising the backup, the clock on the starter starts ticking. And somewhere in that locker room, every player can feel it. The sense that something's coming, something big. The question is, will it be the start of a new era or the next chapter in the Browns' endless cycle of self-destruction? Because when you carry the Sanders name, every snap is history and every mistake becomes a headline. This right here, this is Cleveland's breaking point. The moment when all the noise, all the mistakes, all the years of false dawns finally catch up to the franchise that keeps rewriting the same script and calling it progress. Jimmy Haslam's words weren't just a quote. They were a spark in a locker room full of gasoline. And now everyone, from Dylan Gabriel to Shedeur Sanders to Kevin Stefanski himself, is standing in the smoke, trying to figure out who's to blame and who's about to burn. Because let's be honest, this isn't just about a quarterback controversy anymore. It's about identity, about what kind of organization the Browns actually are. Are they a franchise that builds, protects, and develops? Or are they the same old Browns, chasing hype, mismanaging talent, and hiding dysfunction behind press conference buzzwords? When Haslam talked about progress in practice, he didn't just compare two quarterbacks. He drew a line in the sand. On one side, the guy taking real hits in real games. On the other, the guy being molded into the next great hope. And whichever side this team picks next, that decision will define everything. If Shedeur gets the call and shines, it changes everything. It rewrites the narrative that's haunted Cleveland for decades. The fan base rallies. The city believes again. Suddenly the Browns aren't the joke. They're the redemption story. Shedeur becomes the face of a new era, and Jimmy Haslam looks like the visionary who finally got it right. That's the dream scenario, the one every highlight reel and social clip will try to sell us. But the darker version, the one fans are terrified to even say out loud, that's where the Browns rush him in too early. The system collapses again, and both quarterbacks, Shedeur and Dylan, become casualties of a team that never learned patience. That's not drama. That's Cleveland's history repeating itself. And that's the tension sitting over this franchise right now. Because no matter what they do next, it's not just about football anymore. It's about trust. The locker room has to trust its leadership. The players have to trust the message. And the fans, the most loyal, tortured fan base in the NFL, they have to believe that this time it's different. That the team isn't just chasing the next shiny headline or banking on another miracle name to fix decades of dysfunction. Every Browns fan knows the pain of false hope. Every single one. They've lived it, year after year, quarterback after quarterback, headline after headline. But even after all that heartbreak, they still show up, still believe, still hope that one day the right player, the right coach, the right moment will finally make it stick. So maybe this is that moment. Maybe this chaos, this so-called betrayal, this internal war, is the fire that finally forges something real. Or maybe it's the same story on repeat, just louder this time. Either way, the clock is ticking, and the next decision Cleveland makes will tell us everything we need to know about what kind of franchise they truly want to be. So I'll leave you with this. Do you believe Haslam betrayed his own team, or did he just say the truth nobody wanted to hear? Because one thing's for sure, whatever comes next, it's going to define the Browns for years. And if there's any justice left in this league, this time, the right man will finally get his shot.